Welcome to another wonderful interview by another amazing person, and I'm sure you're going to be absolutely impressed and enjoy this beautiful talk by Katie. And she's going to be talking about harmony in nature. Now, what's all that about? You may have seen a little bit on her bio when you signed up for this. I met Katie and Joe recently. They took me on, amongst others, on the most beautiful forest bathing session. I didn't know quite what to expect, but I knew it was something about forestry and something like this. And then at that time, I was just thinking, oh, I'm working too much computer. And Katie pinged me a message, Alfie, would you like to come on Sunday? I'm like, yes, I would. And oh my goodness, so informative, so beautifully guided by them both. And we went down to the Harry Edwards Foundation, a stunning grounds of healing grounds, so a perfect place to do it. But goodness, Katie and Joe took us around, and I'll leave her to talk about what is it, but I thoroughly recommend it. And just connection to your soul, and made me feel so, that was a dose of love, of nature's love and reconnection. And it's just what I needed. So I do recommend it. And we'll be sending this recording to everybody, as well as how to get in contact and how to book up for your session of forest bathing. So Katie, without further ado, thank you so much for everybody for joining us. Katie, who are you? Can you say something about yourself and why you do what you do?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you very much for having me on, Althea. Well, one of the current things that I love most is being a freelance forest bathing guide and or nature connection guide. Actually, we also use that term. I've been interested in natural health therapies for so many years, over 30 years, and gone through nutrition and more energetic things like Reiki. And I've always had the outdoors in my life, really. I was so lucky to have a family who liked walking and camping and climbing mountains. So I was exposed to that quite early on, and I'm very grateful for that. So it does seem quite normal to me, and I forget that sometimes it isn't normal for other people. But I sort of refound nature again when I was going through a very hard and sad time in my life around 2015. And I didn't really realize until about 2 years after sort of the worst of it had passed that actually I was going out into nature to just relieve and just have a cry in nature. Actually, that was really what it was. Often on the common near me, or there was a little apple tree at the bottom of the garden, and I sometimes just go and sit under it. And I just found it so therapeutic. Nature never judges. You're just there, and it would always pass in a few minutes. And I literally found that after, it was over a year, I would just do little bits of this to keep me going. That after about a year, it all sort of gradually subsided, and I literally woke up one morning thinking, oh, I think I'm done. So I'd allowed myself to have the grief, and then it passed. So, and also I don't think that there's any, there's no specific time on this. Everybody's different. So I found it a real boost to me then. And that was when I started thinking about how I could bring a bit more nature into my life. And I found that through the Forest Bathing Institute, who were looking for guinea pigs to run their first course of training practitioners. And because I used to go to yoga and gong with them, obviously I was a dead cert because I'd run off into the forest nearby and just chill out there. And I found it just really healing. I'd been really wanting some way to bring more nature in, and this for me was really wonderful. And I teamed up with Joanna, who trained shortly after me, as we kept finding well, we were going to each other's events, really. They were roughly spaced 2 weeks apart so that we could go to each other's and get all the benefits. And in the end, we thought, well, we might as well just team up, because it was sort of more fun that way. And we found that actually it's created, I think, a really good experience for participants. Having two of us, we can swap. We get some of the benefits as well. And it's enabled us to try things out that we wouldn't if we'd just been doing something by ourselves. So yeah, we've been very lucky. We've been involved with green prescriptions, with charities supporting, you know, adults with various challenges. And between us, we've worked at National Trust locations, RSPB sites, Kew Gardens, even ran a session at RHS Wisley. And yeah, and I had the opportunity to be in a programme with the Reverend Kate Botley briefly. So just as a guide, I wasn't the focus of it. And it was it's been such a wonderful opportunity, I think. So yeah, I'm just very grateful to be here at the moment and to keep meeting and working with some really wonderful people.
Amazing. And both you and Jo have something. I see your unity. You work together beautifully, love and beautiful balance. And now you mention that, looking back at the session I had on Sunday, you just seem to sort of naturally dovetail into each other, and you've both got something very different to give. You know, different sort of perspectives. And
I think certainly we completely trust the other. And sometimes something, we don't plan it and say, oh, you'll do this one, I'll do this one. We just flow. And several people have mentioned that. It's just what we feel into at the moment. And we're just conscious of trying to give each other, you know, the same, you know, a good amount of time to do what we do. If we think, oh, I know Jo really likes to do Deer's Ears and it's windy. So off, you know, I'll suggest she could do that, or she might suggest it. So it's just very much we go with the flow, and it is lovely to have that. I consider that a real blessing. Yes, working.
It really seems to. It really works. There's lovely harmony, gentle harmony, and so being a participant, I felt really encouraged to engage into the forest, and you do it so beautifully and professionally. And first time I did this with you was we were in the Sun and Moon Festival, weren't we? Which was an amazing event. I will be speaking at the Sun and Moon this year if you want to come along, if you would like to do that. But yeah, I saw on the list of things to do, they offered all sorts of beautiful harmony and healing, all sorts of things. And I saw this thing called forest bathing. I was like, what's that? That sounds interesting. I don't know. And I wasn't quite sure what you were going to do, but it was enchanting. I loved it very much. Can you just talk us through what is a forest bathing session?
Well, if you're going to do forest bathing, it's really about immersing ourselves in nature. So it doesn't involve any cold plunges in woodland or anything. It's really paying attention, being immersed in nature. We walk very slowly, and we'll go into the reasons that we do that. So we don't really cover a big area. And we're drawing attention to our breathing, because we know that's helpful, and really experiencing the forest through our senses. So really paying attention to what we're seeing, hearing, smelling, touching in particular. And Jo and I always like to finish or have at some point a sort of a forest tea, potentially with another herbal tea, because for me personally, that's the way I like to connect with nature. I go out onto the common near me, take a little flask of some woodland thing I've picked, and go out, and it helps me feel connected with nature. So that's sort of one of my personal things. So we're going very slowly.
What was that tea that you gave us on that walk? What was that?
Ooh, what did you have? Was it pine or bramble?
Yeah, pine.
I think it was pine, actually. Yeah. Yes, it was pine tea. And that's, we do check in with these things. We have a medical herbalist friend, and she said that all parts of the pine are fine to ingest. But obviously, you need to know there are so many pines and firs and conifers that I obviously don't advise people to just go and think, oh, this looks like a pine, I'll make a tea of it, because if you're keen on that sort of thing, then go and go out with a forager or medical herbalist or something like that. But we have a few that we regularly use, and absolutely love those. Yeah. Yeah, so
And you're
we
reconnecting to nature.
Yeah, so we connect mainly through our senses. And the interesting thing about that is that when you're really paying attention, and also we're trying to get into the idea of, really, it's almost about re-encouraging that natural curiosity we had as children, and just that joy of really simple things. And it is wonderful when people rediscover things during a walk with us. It's such fun. You see the way people light up with recalling something. Our sense of smell is very evocative. It goes straight, we smell something, it goes straight to the limbic system and bypassing any thought that might be going on in the brain. So it really often takes us back to emotions and memories. And that can be a really powerful one when we're suggesting smelling various natural items.
So I guess that takes you straight back to the memory, and that is the connection. That's your connection with nature, and that's through smell.
Yes,
your memory.
we connect exactly. That smell is a particularly powerful one, and often it does take us back to a time when we were in nature, very often in childhood, because that's the time we're more likely to be involved with mud and soil.
Speak for yourself.
Yes, well, I am speaking for myself. It's quite a primal thing. It just goes there, and you remember it, and usually it's a good memory for people. So that can be that's one that often lights people up. It's an unexpected thing. It just comes at you without any thought process. And also through other...
Sorry.
No, carry on.
I was going to say it was really interesting because it was, you go through the senses, isn't it? And you got us to stand in different directions and to engage into what was happening there and how we felt and how it affected us, and then the light and looking far and near, and about what we could hear, and doing techniques to hear things differently that I perhaps might just walk through the woods and say, oh, this is nice, but you really take through someone through an engagement, a real engagement through all your senses. And I was amazed how differently all the different smells were, and you guide about how to smell things in different ways and different methods of smelling as well. And try this. You were very encouraging, very gentle, and it was amazing the different layers of smells, even in the same plant there could be. That was lovely to be guided like that.
Yeah. Oops. Sorry, I just did that.
So how did you develop this? Was this the training? Was this the training that you did to do it like this?
Yes, we had the training in different ways, and also as we've gone along, we've also discovered other things. I mean, I discovered, for example, that there was another way to enhance smell was if I breathed over, say, the bark of a tree. Barks don't usually have a strong smell unless there would be, say, pine resin there. I always try, and sometimes I don't get much, but I did discover that actually if you breathe the hot breath onto it, that more smell comes out of it. So I think we were given some really good techniques, and we also find a few other things that we like as well. So it is about really tuning into the senses. So, I mean, there must be hundreds of different things that we could do. So we'll just choose what seems right on the day. It'll depend on the season and the weather. We will include all the senses, but it'll vary depending on what's going on. There might be some days when there's absolutely no breath of wind at all. And so we might decide, okay, we're not going to look at movement. But actually, there again, we might decide we're going to look at movement because you think there's no movement. And actually, when you just allow yourself a few minutes, you start spotting it. So there are different ways that we could choose to do things on different days. And that's why generally we feel it's good to come on maybe 2 or 3 guided sessions. You'll pick up lots of tips that you can take away and try with yourself. And also it teaches us how to really enjoy all weathers. I think that's been a great thing for me, because I was never an enjoyer of wet weather and being cold, because I tend to be a bit chilly anyway. But now I just love it. If it's, you know, light rain even throughout the whole session, it's just a lovely gift. Actually, I look on it as that. It's another of nature's gifts. And actually, I have to say that probably 99% of the time we'll have it maybe an awful forecast, and on the day it turns out to be fantastic. So really, I'm trying to think if we ever cancelled, maybe once for something, but we generally don't cancel for the weather, unless it was a storm or, you know, something where you'd be endangered from falling branches. Obviously not, but yeah, we like to go whatever the weather.
Go, and it's lovely, and that's also sort of going back to nature, to childhood. I mean, I remember when it was snowing for the first time, my children were very young, and I was like, "Oh, come back for your gloves and your boots." No, they were in jammies, straight outside, and eating it and playing with it and jumping about. And I thought, you know what, just dunk them in the bath afterwards. But that childhood feeling, isn't it? Just it's all amazing, exploring, and we've done that many times with the children. I remember I homeschooled my kids, and one of the kids' friends had a picture on the wall of the kitchen. It says, look outside, what's the weather today? This week, notice what the weather is. And what they had to do was just notice it and write it down. It's hailstones and sunny or whatever. And I thought, on a piece of paper, look out the window. And that particular day, that was a couple of days after the hailstones, and we were in the forest, and it was pelting us with hailstones, and it was very exciting. And we were like, look, there's millions here and millions there, and we were eating them and trying not to get pelted, and it was exciting. And you know, childhood life. And then we yeah, it was another experience. I mean, I'll never forget that moment. I guess the children won't either, but to immerse yourself in any weather's fine. I've been outside when it's pelting down with rain, and I said, "Come on, kids!" So we had this lovely big umbrella, and we went out like that. It was just, I don't know, with the elements, and we're okay. We'll go back home and warm up in a minute. Everything's okay. But yeah, to immerse is so vital, I think, to our senses.
Yeah, actually, that is very true. That often the adverse weather conditions are the ones that really make us feel alive. You really experiencing all that nature can throw at you.
So what sort of things
that could be wonderful.
What sort of things
wonderful experience.
What sort of things have you had happen on your sessions, and things that stand out for you?
Well, you mean of individual activities that we do?
Memorable sessions or individual activities, or and you said that you saw people come alive with memories and things, and
yeah, I think that's a general thing. It can happen from different things, like maybe being encouraged to look up at the canopy. If we do a lying down sort of meditative visualization type practice, we often encourage people to look up at the canopy before they close their eyes, and people go, wow, I've never actually looked at a tree canopy above me before. So it can come in all sorts of surprising ways. The smell, anything really can be, if you've not done it with your real attention on it before. And that's one of the wonderful things about it. Yeah, that feeling of calm. I know when I did a few of the ones at Kew Gardens, so that was a very public session. Most people didn't come with somebody they knew. And to be honest, I was a bit skeptical about how much they would get from it in a botanical garden. But there's a huge variety of plants and trees there. And actually, something that happened across a couple of sessions was several people mentioned how when they connected with the tree, they felt really accepted and not judged. So it was a real sort of emotional, almost spiritual moment for them. So yeah, the wow moments have quite a lot of variety, actually. And I just think the connection and other things I was thinking of was when we generally do each of the activities in silence separately and encourage not to draw other people's attention to things, specifically verbally anyway, so that everyone has their own space and their own experience. And then sporadically we come together and share anything that anyone would like to share. And that actually has been shown to be one of the really bonding moments. And I remember having a small group in one session, and we just got to the end of the session and nobody wanted to move. And we just sat there. And one person said, God, I came into this with other people who were complete strangers, and now I feel I'm sitting here with a bunch of friends. So it's really a connecting and quite amazing experience. And I think helping people to do that a few times and for them to take it forward and do it for themselves as well. And to be honest, you get that after one session too, is something that I just get so much joy from. And I know Joe does too, from just bringing that to people. And I do think of it as a reconnection, because I think mainly we have had connections in some ways with nature, and we've just lost it. It got lost in all the busyness and our busy Western lifestyles.
Definitely. I mean, this is something I teach at Pain Free, that pain is a disconnection, and you have to connect with yourself, connect to you, and that's where the healing is. And I'm always, one of the things I advise people to do is to go into nature. And this connection, I think it's all part and parcel of the same stuff. To as you go into nature and notice things and go through your senses in this beautiful, gentle, subtle way, it's incredibly powerful. And have you found that have you had people who are suffering with things that they've gone into your sessions? Do you know, is that something anybody ever says to you, that they suffer this or that, and or traumas perhaps?
Yes, sometimes we did have someone who came to about 4 or 5 of our sessions. We were running them alternately at that point individually, and she had actually not declared on the health form some things that were going on for her, but with working in a sort of medical setting, was having various readings and things done. And on the 3rd session, so it was one with me, one with Joe, and then another with me. And at the end of that session, she revealed that after 2 sessions, so that would have been 6 hours potentially out in nature fortnightly, all her readings were back nearly normal. So that was quite amazing. And yes, we've had occasionally somebody with tinnitus who said it seemed to have stopped for a while. I think people feeling overwhelmed with stress and thinking, oh my goodness, I actually didn't think about that stuff for over 2 hours.
Wow.
It is amazing. I mean, obviously we're not claiming to cure anything, but we do find that, and the whole aim of it is to provide a lovely nurturing space that people can just lose themselves in nature, feel that they're cared for by nature as well as us, and go back out afterwards in a different space, the feeling of ease, a bit more peaceful. And it allows us to tackle, it allows us to tackle life when we go back into it in a different head space, and sometimes able to deal with things in a different way. I mean, a lot of the research has shown that some of the mental and emotional alterations that happen when you're connecting with nature is quite amazing, and it can activate creativity, improve memory, enhance the higher brain functions rather than the lower ones that we tend to be preoccupied with on a daily basis when we're in a state of stress or pain, for example. And I understand that it one of the ways it does that is by lowering the cortisol levels and increasing the serotonin. So that, for example, that's what the mechanism I understand that reduces pain as well. So there are so many different ways, but one of them is through it regulating the parasympathetic nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, and it helps shift us from that sympathetic fight, flight, to-do list, all the stuff that needs to be done in life, what we're dealing with, and just shift us over into the parasympathetic, the rest, recuperate side of the nervous system. And obviously that allows all of the functions of our mind and body to be so much more effective. All the things that our body and mind needs to do to recover and go out in a more resilient way, it allows that to happen for a few hours. And then we hope to send people out a little happier into the world.
I think you definitely do. And I think, it's, and it just feels good. And somebody's more scientifically, medically inclined to know all these things are good to know that it's all been tested and measured. But I find that when you go into nature, it just makes me feel good. And that's all you need to know, isn't it? Just that you're walking about but it's the oxygen coming off the trees, you're breathing all that in. And I like to sort of point out to people that nature is in perfect harmony, it's in perfect balance all the time. Even if a tree's falling down and rotten, or if there's pollution or whatever, the nature is always in perpetual balance. So when you walk into nature, you're going to get affected by that, because we get affected by our surroundings. Added to that, all the lovely oxygen that's coming off, and all the beautiful sights of the waving leaves, or the animals, birds and beasts or whatever, to delight you, and the colors. And the color is green, the color of the heart. So this is means it's calming, and so I don't know about the medical side of the tests and things that have been done that you mentioned, but on the simplistic level, it just makes you feel good, doesn't it? The plants and the light, the birds and things. And when you took us around, you got us to absolutely slow down, to just absolutely, like, not quite stopping, but just very slow walking. And to be silent within yourself, not to share until the sharing time. And I noticed the lights, how the light changed, and how different plants sort of came up to meet the lights. I just noticed the different dapple lights, and then the smell was different as well, as we just walked just along a small bit of path. I just noticed all the shift of light, and the smell was different, and then those particular plants popped up, and the other ones sort of went down. And this is all the engaging thing then, isn't it? Noticing all these different things. And I'm sure I like plants and things and forests anyway, but when you really engage, there's so much you miss if you just walk on through, or if you're walking with your dog or something, or going for a run, or getting from A to B. And you mentioned on the sign up form that a little bit about this. You were saying about what if you were already going to nature? What's the point? What's the difference?
Well, yes, it's interesting, because we often get plenty of dog walkers, runners, people who like nature anyway, coming on the events, and very often they'll realize that maybe they need to go for a walk with their dog, without their dog actually, as well as walking the dog, to have time by themselves. Because of course a dog is very mindful. The slightest thing it sees or smells or hears, and it will be off investigating that. But of course, if you're a dog owner, you've got to be keeping an eye on where it's going, a bit like if you're going for a walk with family, or got young children to keep an eye on. Or if you go meet up with friends and go for a nice walk to have a chat, but you're focusing on that person because you're connected with them. So what is really happening when we go out. We're connecting with nature specifically. So it's not like doing yoga in nature or walking a dog in nature. Now, you will definitely get potentially 50% of the benefits that have been noted from research into forest bathing, because the quality of the air is still good. We've still got plant compounds coming off the trees and the other plants, and those are usually the plant's immune system, which is giving out to stop pests and things eating it. So those will all be there, and they will fall on our skin, we'll breathe them in, and they really benefit our immune system as well. So we are getting benefits from that.
We are, and you had some amazing words. What were those very interesting words that were very specific to forest bathing and to the forest?
To the forest. Oh, was it? Yeah, the smell. When the phytoncides, which are considered these plant compounds, when they fall on the earth, they sort of sit there and they get locked up in it, and that wonderful smell when rain falls on it, and we get that deep smell. It starts rising up from the ground up towards our nose, and we can smell that gorgeous smell. And it's called petrichor.
That's a word.
It's weird. It's a word. That's what it means. It's that smell of those things being brought up after rain. I think it might be the other word. Was it the sound of leaves, I think, rubbing against each other in the breeze, which is susurration.
There you go.
I think I first came across that in some poetry when I was younger. So it's not specific to forest bathing, that one, but it's it's lovely to think that there are some special words for things that happen in nature. So yes, and we're perceiving different things. You were talking earlier about going out into nature and how we know that we feel good. And it's actually such a contrast from, say, example, an urban setting. We're used to straight lines, angles, right angles everywhere we go, where we live, where we work. And I didn't realize before that actually those straight lines are actually quite stressful to our eyes, and anything that's stressful to any of our senses is stressful to our brain and our nervous system. So when we go out into nature, of course, there aren't the straight lines and the right angles. So that actually is very soothing to the nervous system. So that's one aspect in which nature is soothing to us. And you think also of like the sounds, they're very sort of background and gradual, sometimes slightly chaotic, maybe like running water or birdsong, but it's not harsh and very loud and coming in. So those things are actually, again, soothing. And we know when birds are singing, we know they feel safe. So it helps us to feel safe. So there are all sorts of things. And I've found that in last year or so, I've been responding more to touch, like when I touch the bark of something. I find I start yawning, which took me years to work out why was I yawning when I went into a forest or something. And it's actually because that's my sign that I'm in my rest and recuperate part of my nervous system. So I've been really enjoying experiencing that, like stroking a bit of moss. That feels really nice. It's a bit like an animal or something.
It's lovely, isn't it? Because so as an adult, typically we move along, don't we? We get on with things A to B, and then to stroke that moss, to feel what that feels like, and let it affect you, and enjoy that lovely touch or smell or notice things. And I mean, I've been. I've got two young kids. Well, they're young teenagers now, but I'm sort of here, there, and everywhere, like a lot of people. And I catch myself these days. Like one day I was going out to work. I used to work in a clinic, and my cat just flopped in front of me. I said, "No, stroke, please." And I could have just zoomed off. Oh no, come on, cat, off we go. But I thought, what does it take? Just a few moments, a few minutes. In this, give my cat pleasure, and I get the pleasure of this lovely warmth and her warm a fairy body and the sun and sunshine and a connection of creature and me, and a lovely moment, you know. And I sometimes I'll be walking along and the sun just catches me like that, and I could just move along and off we go. I've got to go and then cook dinner, blah blah blah. And I thought, no, I'm just going to stand here, and this, I've just caught a lovely moment, and the leaves are like suffration. What are they called? The
I suppose you'd say they're susurrating, are they?
suffrating
is the yeah.
and the light are just, the clouds are just like this or like that, and it's like a sort of moment. It catches me in the moment. I think that's lovely, and I just stayed there for a moment, let the sun on my face or whatever the thing's going on. Just, and it's why not? Why do we have to be rushing? And a bit like you took us in the forest, you know, and giving that space and time to notice stuff, because you didn't particularly say anything apart from a few directions, but you let us notice and let it happen to ourselves, which was it's subtle and it's so empowering, it's so effective on us. And what was the thing at the end? You what was that special thing you did at the end? Jerry did at the end, Joanna, after you gave us that lovely pine tea.
Yes, we do. Well, we like to call it a tree laxation, actually. As you can imagine, it's basically a relaxing, meditative thing under a canopy of trees, usually. And it's just lovely to have that quiet, calm moment, a moment where we just stop completely. So we're not really looking at anything, and we're just lying down, eyes closed, or just, blurring, or just looking up at the canopy, and you just feel into very much in your body. So it can be, sometimes we'll do something that's very sensory based, so you're feeling, listening, smelling as you're lying there. Sometimes it might be a meditative practice like scanning through the body, or it might be a couple of those, or sometimes maybe a visualization of something that. And also it's nice to leave with that towards the end, because by then people have moved, they've initially got over perhaps the journey getting there or getting lost, and the aim really is to bring people to a sort of stop by the end, to just be with yourself and your body, and to know that sense of calm is there at the end. So it always varies, that end bit. We don't have a specific single thing that we do. Sometimes it was only a small group, and we actually did something that was a bit more woo-woo, which we don't normally do on a session, just because of those of you who were there.
I know Joanna was checking in.
Leanings.
Joanna was checking in, said, "Are you into angels? Are you into chakras? Are you into this, into that?" Oh yeah, just give it to me.
Yes. So because everybody was quite into that, we did a really much deeper one than we normally do. But
it was amazing.
I loved it as well, because I'd done the intro and she did the meditation bit at the end, so I got to experience that as well. It was really lovely.
It was really deep, wasn't it? And I can't even remember half of it, but it was sort of taking us on in the journeys of imagination into the earth. And I can't even remember what she said now, but it was really long. And I don't know, maybe it was 10 minutes. I don't know, but it felt like a real deep journey. I think somebody even fell asleep. Didn't the other lady on the other side? I think she fell asleep. I nearly did. I was going, yes. And fall asleep.
But we always think that whatever happens is the best thing for you. So we always take falling asleep as a compliment. That's fine, because that's what you needed. That's what you needed.
It was beautiful. It was such a nice day then, wasn't it? And all the dappled leaves, and it was, and we were looking out onto that beautiful view at the Harry Edwards Foundation. It was perfect spot, and hardly anybody.
It is amazing. We're lucky to have that. We do have various different locations we can use, but we often come back to that one.
Really, that's your favorite.
We always have a monthly one there in so that's near Shear in Surrey. It's it's nice and quiet there. You don't get cyclists or horses, or usually dog walkers coming through, so it's quite peaceful there. So we do like that. We do a monthly one there, and the other sites tends to be for specific groups if people want to have something, because we will do, you know, family or corporate groups. And we have sites around Woking, South London. Actually, there are 3 places we can work as well. Yeah, so we just see what's needed, and yeah, but Harry Edwards, that's one of our favorite places because it's so calm and it's really quiet. You're not really interrupted by others, so that is a very special place.
So would people request, they can go onto your website and see all the different options that you offer for these forest bathing opportunities, different places, different times?
Yeah, we're at the moment the main one that we have, and every 3 months we sort of book another batch of sessions, so don't worry if you don't see many on there. They will be ongoing. So yes, mainly through harmonyinnature.uk. That's currently housed on Joe's massive Harmony Healing website with all sorts of holistic things going on there. Yeah, but
and I will put the link into with this recording to everybody who signed up, and so you will get this recording and the link how to get in touch with Joe and Katie. And so if there was a family or group of friends or corporate group who wanted to experience forest bathing, then they just got in contact, and you'd be happy to have a chat about how that looks like.
Yes, because it can look different for everybody. Depends on what they're doing. So, you know, or what they want to get from it. And if there's a common theme, for example, then we can include that within the session. We might put in mentions and encouragement of or certain activities that we might not do with everybody. So it's always useful to have background on that. So yes, we have a joint email which we both see, which is Katie and Joe. So it's KatieAndJo at harmonyinnature.uk. So that's always a good one to email us on, especially if you've got questions.
And Paul was asking, is anyone in the northwest? Do you know about if someone's not in the southeast of England here in Surrey, and where would they go? How would they get in contact with a forest bather elsewhere, or particularly the northwest?
Well, I mean, I do, because I do quite a lot of the assessments for the guides who are in training, for the practical assessments, which is another thing I love, going out into forests and seeing how each student brings the tools to their forest in their own way.
So you actually you do the training, you're the trainer.
I'm part of the training team, yes. I'm on the training team. And because I quite like traveling, I don't mind going places. So I have been up there. I'm thinking that, yes, there are a couple northwesterly. Definitely we have somebody in the Ilkley area. Robert Fisher, I'll mention that. Shout out to Robert. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. There are, so people could contact me. The other place is through the Forest Bathing Institute, because they will have, they will have people who they've trained and who are now qualified. So actually sometimes trainees will advertise in the area. So Paula, you could look if there's any forest bathing guides or trainees in your area, maybe looking on Facebook or Eventbrite, because they will put things up, and they can be free sessions because they need guinea pigs to practice on. We all have to do a minimum number of sessions and get feedback.
What was that? Freebies? What was that? Did he say on the forest bathing?
When the guides are training, they also need people to practice on. So and get feedback. In the deal is that you give feedback on that. Yes, being a guinea pig for somebody taking you out and doing a nice mindful nature connection walk is a pretty good deal. Actually, I've been on several myself. I recommend
Where,
them.
where might people find trainees as well as the Forest Bathing Institute? Or on that?
I'm not sure. I would say through them, actually.
Through the
Info
Forest
at
Bathing.
Forest Bathing Institute. They're welcome to contact us as well, because I do that. People I know that I've assessed, I'll know that there are a few in that area, but I couldn't say specifically. Paula mentioned the Manchester area, so I couldn't say specifically for that. But you might find Facebook and Eventbrite are good places to look. And then, yeah, as people get, as people are qualified and they bring their version of it out, it's really exciting.
Wasn't that thing about Joanna? What was the FBI?
Oh, yeah. Well, we like to say in the introduction, there's not many people who can say they were trained by the FBI, but we can.
Forest Bathing
mind you, TFBI isn't too keen when we say that, but hey, we get a kick out of it.
It's fun. It's good to have fun. And Karen's asked, what about Somerset? Would that be ditto for Somerset? Look at Facebook and Eventbrite.
Yes, I think so. Again, they can ask us, because we do have some contacts, but yeah, potentially the institute is going to know who is currently in training, and that can be useful because sometimes they want to have a minimum number, especially for assessments, and they're blinking good by then, I tell you. So it can be very helpful to have people interested. So I would say yes, that's probably a good way to go.
And how many sessions might somebody want? What would be a typical? And that lady you mentioned, she had 6 sessions, and you said by the second
she had about. Yeah, she could already see the benefits to after 2 sessions. So that was one, a fortnight later, another one, and she got the benefits after that. She came to us about 4 times, went to a bigger, busier area, didn't like it quite as much, but it's different. It's good to try these things, different places, locations, and of course we'll do different activities, and the weather will be different each time, and the season might be different. So it's never the same thing. It's not like you do it one and done. It'll be different all the time. And if you just feel you need a boost and a bit to get out of your own head, then it's a really good option, I think. And we didn't actually mention, particularly, I didn't mention that there are so many physical benefits to it as well. I mean, because it soothes your nervous system, it enables all the organ functions to work well. So circulation, heart improves. It really benefits your immune system, and respiration as well. And your whole hormonal system, because when you reduce the cortisol, it allows the other hormones to work in a more balanced way. So I mean, that's really only touching the surface, but yeah, there are so many reasons. Amazing. And yeah, by all means, carry on going out with your dog and doing your run, but always remember, where is my mind when I'm doing those, and try to find a bit of space where you can go out and just let your mind wander with wherever it feels pulled, whichever sense is strongest on the day.
Because the forest bathing is very different. I mean, I've walked dogs and gone for walks with friends, or just walked through the forest or whatever by myself. And the forest bathing is really different. It's fully engaging into your senses. So, I mean, I do thoroughly recommend it to everybody, because it's really different than just sitting in the forest and walking around and looking at stuff. It's much more than that. It's very subtle, I found, and very sweetly guided by you both. And it was delightful, and exploring things. I thought I knew plants and smells and things, but actually when you go through that and you get guided gently by you both, there's no pressure about anything, and you give different sort of tactics about how to smell and what things to smell and look at, and it just connects all your senses. So it's a very different experience than just having a lovely day in the woods in the forest or something. And what about somebody who's not very able physically? Because I know with the people who come to me with pain-free, a lot of people perhaps can't get out, or wheelchair bound, or or can't walk very far, or perhaps even breathing things or dizziness. So would it be suitable for those sort of people? Could you adapt it for somebody who's not very physically able?
Yes, certainly we could. There is one of the locations that we use, which for me is near Woking, where it would actually be suitable for wheelchair users, for example. So I think that can be useful. So yes, you don't want someone to have a hard time accessing it. So it is more limited in the sense that obviously we couldn't take them to sloping ground and bits where they're going to have to go up and down, you know, humpy paths and things. But there's no reason why you can't do that. And I absolutely. And, you know, we've even had people who are hard of hearing can do it. As well. You might need to get people who say they can't smell anything or their sense of smell is terrible, but often they do get something from it with the techniques. So it's all doable. And there was a
lady on our group, wasn't it, that I came to, and she said she couldn't smell, but she did smell things. It was how did that function? I mean, if she couldn't smell, then she could smell things. Was it some things she could smell or something, wasn't it? And you showed her techniques.
Yes, we have a couple of techniques, and I have the one that I recommend as well. So it's really about opening your sinuses and finding ways to get more of the smell in. So we have a couple of techniques that we use for that, and you know, very often it works. With quite a lot of people, and it might just be fleeting or momentary, but it can happen. And really, it's one of those things that if you practice that technique, you know, in your own time and do it regularly, you can improve your sense of smell. So it is recoverable. But obviously, something like sense of smell, you know, to be honest, we often live in places where the smells are not that palatable. And so it's really also it can be a mechanism which just keeps us safe from unpleasant smell where we live. You know, choose your smells carefully, but nature, generally speaking, has it's quite subtle. And I think the problem is also that we are sort of inundated with all these synthetic fragrances in everything we use, and that has really damaged our sense of smell to some extent. So we're not really open. We think we can't smell anything, but actually we can subtly, but we're so overwhelmed with the synthetic things. And I've found since I've abandoned synthetic smells over years, it's really improved my sense of smell as well.
And also, even if you can't smell thank you. And also, if you can't smell very much, when you breathe something in, your body will get the benefits anyway. I mean, I teach, I encourage my clients to use essential oils for relaxation, like lavender, for example. And sometimes people say, I don't have any sense of smell. But when you breathe it in, it's still a biological thing. It's still a molecules of whatever it is, you know, and it's still going into your body, and your body's still going to get the benefits into the lungs or whatever. So there's even if you don't have much smell, you know, you still get the benefits of the relaxation in the forest. Okay, so
absolutely. And you'll still, sorry, I was just going to say, and you'll still get like the immune enhancing benefits and the other benefits that you get from it. So yes, I mean, trees often give off things which are you know, they're sort of antimicrobial or antifungal as well. So yes, I'm a big fan of essential oils as well. Yeah.
So it's wonderful. And Katie, thank you so much. And do we have any more questions? We're going to come to a close in a moment. If you have any questions, do pop them in before we finish. And so I'm going to be sending this recording to everybody, and also how to get in touch with Katie and Joanna to explore further, to look at what sessions you'd like to join in with them, and in the south. And then if you are anywhere else and want to join forest bathing, to go to the FBI, the Forest Bathing Institute, and Katie was recommending to have a look on Facebook, an Eventbrite for events, forest bathing events where you are. So it looks like it's all over the place, and it seems to me that people are getting more and more into nature and natural things. It seems that way. I don't know whether all the COVID thing going on. It's sort of. I remember when we were all locked down, how loud the birds were. I was like, were they not loud before? and I think I heard a lot of other people say the same thing, and everything just calmed down. You know, we stopped manically going everywhere, and to notice things, and it seemed to kickstart people into re-engaging into what's important in life. You know, to get into nature, to look after yourself, listen to your needs, and this sort of thing. So yeah, it's a very popular thing, it seems, and it's a very beautiful thing. I thoroughly recommend it to everybody. So if we yeah, go for it. You're welcome, Paula. And thank you so much for everybody for joining us, and thank you so much, Katie, for sharing your knowledge and your expertise and your offerings, and talk about how this all works, this forest bathing. As I said, the very first time I heard about it, was like, what's that? Are we going to get naked or something? And it was absolutely delightful, and I really enjoyed it. So do go along, everybody, if you're feeling called to this, go and check it out. So Katie, if I can just pass the last word to you, and would you like to say something as a passing something, a comment or guidance or tip for everybody here and everybody listening to this recording? If I can pass it to you for the last words, and what would you like to say?
Well, I'd really just love to encourage people to go out potentially without another person, as long as you're somewhere that you feel safe, and to just really try to connect through your senses with nature. And this can be a garden. It doesn't have to be some ancient woodland somewhere. It can be your garden. It could be little you know, a row of plants. You know, you maybe have a patio with a few little plants on, and just really spend the time looking and smelling and touching, or sitting and just listening to the sounds around you. Sometimes the breeze I find incredibly soothing, actually. And just really start noticing things and how that makes you feel, what's happening in your body with that, because that really is something that we can all do. It's free, and I can't really overstate how important it is. And when we reconnect with nature, it is reconnecting us to ourselves, you know, our physical, mental and emotional selves, and it helps us reconnect to others as well. So really can't recommend it highly enough.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Katie. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And look out in your emails shortly. It will be pinging its way to you, and how to get into contact with Katie. So I'll bring it to a close now. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Bye for now. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you. Thank you.